Hey, it's Colin Smith here from Photoshop Cafe and welcome to this week's tutorial. What I'm going to do is show you how to use the gradient tool inside of Photoshop. Hey Cafe crew, I've heard from a lot of you and a lot of people don't really understand how the gradient tool works. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a crash course on the gradient tool right now inside of Photoshop. So I'm going to show you all the different options and how to do custom gradients. Now this is useful for graphic designers, for artists, illustrators, and for photographers. It's a great tool to master. So let's jump right in. So if we go to the left hand column here, we can see there's our gradient tool. What I'm going to do is I'm going to select the background and we're just going to apply a gradient. So once we click the gradient tool, which is also the G key, we go up to the top here and this is our gradient picker. So these are all the presets. These are the ones that you see right now. If you click on here, we can actually load in other presets and you'll see all these other sets are right there. So maybe we can bring in some metals and we'll just click append and you'll see there's more presets there than what you saw originally. So the first one here, this is our foreground to background. This is our most basic gradient, and what we can do is just click down here to set our foreground to background color. And we'll do this, we'll set a little background here. So why don't we just grab a light gray, and for the background color, and by the way, if you hit the option key and click on it, you can set your background color. We're going to grab a slight, maybe just a little bluish tinge there, maybe a little darker. How about there? Click OK. So now we've set our foreground to background colors. Now to apply this gradient, all you need to do is you'll see there's different types here, and we're just going to start with the first one, which is a linear gradient. Now make sure your mode is set to normal, opacity to 100, and these are just dither and transparency are turned on. Those are default settings. Now what happens is when I click and drag, you'll see this line and we apply the gradient like that. So what it does is it blends the two colors together through that little line. So if I do a little short little pull like that, short distance, you'll notice those lines blend, those two colors, foreground, background, they blend over the short distance. If I pull it down further, they blend more gradually. Now if you hold down the shift key, you can constrain this to a perfect vertical or horizontal. So we can see there, we can just redo that. Alright, so that's the basic foreground to background gradient. Okay, what if we want to go in and look at something a little more complex, like maybe make a custom gradient? Well, to create a custom gradient, what we do is we click on the gradient tool and the gradient editor will pop up. Now here in the gradient editor, we can choose preset, or we can go in and we can customize. I want to show you how to customize it just so you know how it works. So here's the stops, and we know we were doing foreground to background. Now if you wanted to change that, you just simply change the foreground and background color, right? But what will happen is once we click on here, as soon as we click on one of those colors, notice it changes to custom. So we can go click on the color here and we can choose a different color. Alright, so we could have done that for foreground to background, right? We can also change the blending by moving that little stop across. See that? And that will cause it to blend not linear in the middle, but it will cause it to weight it more to one side than the other. Now here's the cool thing is we can click anywhere to add another color stop. So we can go here and maybe add a bluish color. And you can see now we've got a gradient with 3 different colors. Now sometimes you might want to do something like maybe put a little sheen in here. So I'm going to click again and we're going to apply a white gradient or very close to white. Now we get a little sheen. Now what if I wanted to put the blue on the other side? I could click and apply that and choose that color again. Or I could hit the Alt key, which is the option, and click and drag out a copy of that. Notice that now we've got 5 different colors in this gradient. And in between each one, we can move this. So notice if we want to have just this sheen, a very short distance, we can do that. Whoops. And as I click on each one of these stoppers, notice it brings up those little stops, or those little tabs. So we can control how it goes in between each one. So that's looking pretty good. And we can change the gradient types here, solid or noise, and noise will just give you this kind of stuff. It's interesting. But let's just go back to our solid gradient. Now if I want to save it, I just hit save and we can call this one sheen. And this will save that whole gradient set, which is, all of these gradients. So this is all our metallic ones. Now if I want to save just this individual one, all I can do is just click on new, and notice it will just add it there, and that'll be available later. So I'm going to click OK, and now I'm going to apply this gradient. And we can see we've got this different type of effect now. All right, so that's how you customize a gradient. Now let's look at these three different shapes. Why do I have these on here? Because I'm going to show you different types of gradients. I'm going to show you how to create a cylinder. I'm going to show you how to create a sphere, and I'm going to show you how to create a cone. Right now we just have a rectangle, a circle, and a square. So let's start on the rectangle, and we're going to turn this rectangle into a cylinder. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to Command or Control on Windows, click on that thumbnail to load the selection. Notice I'm working on that cylinder layer. Now what we want to do is we're just going to go back to our default here. And we've got different options. So we've got this reflective gradient tool. So if I click this reflective, what this will do is when I apply this gradient here, notice what it does. It repeats it. But let's go for a different color. Let's go for something a little darker there. And once again, if we do this, it will reflect it. See that? And we can create that kind of effect. And you can see just if we do a very short distance, it's very abrupt. A longer distance will create more of a cylinder like that. And notice how we can have it reflecting wherever we want. So that's one way of doing it. The other way, of course, we could go under a preset and choose a preset such as that one, and just click and drag across, holding down the Shift key to constrain it. And we can also turn that into more of a cylinder, so it makes it look dimensional. Okay, let's move on to the circle. Let's select that layer, Control click or Command click to select it. Now we want a sphere. The way we can do that is we can go to the second option here, which is our spherical option, or a circular gradient, and just click and drag, and notice we can do that. It doesn't look good like that, so we want more of a foreground to background kind of an effect here. So let's grab that, and we can create that. See that? Now it looks like a sphere, like it's got some dimension to it. If it doesn't look right, just choose reverse, because if I do this, it will reverse it out. So if it looks weird like that, just go the other way, and that will give you the reverse of that. So there's another way of working. All right, so now finally I'm going to go in here and I'm going to show you how to create a cone. I say a cone, well, this is not a cone, it's a square. Well, I'll show you this is the best way to create a cone inside of Photoshop. So we're going to select that, Control click to select that square. And then let's go with the same kind of metallic thing. We're going to grab our gradient tool now. And let's go down for more, I don't know, a silvery one. Let's see how this silvery one looks. Let's see if it looks any good. I'm just going to shift to drag it across. We certainly don't want to be in the circular. Make sure we're in linear there. We can drag that across, and it's not bad. It kind of creates this kind of cool effect. Yeah, it's not bad. But I'm going to go down, and we're just going to use the same one that we used before because I think this just looks better. There we go. It's just simpler. Okay, but this is not a cone, it's a square. Well, this is what we do. We hit Control T for free transform. Then we're going to right click, and we're going to choose, I'm going to use perspective, and I'm just going to grab the top here. I'm just going to pull it all the way in into those two edges are touching. Hit enter to apply, Control D to deselect, and now we've got a cone. So you can see we've been able to create these objects pretty quickly. Now if we apply a shadow, and I have another tutorial that shows you how to create a shadow on there, you can get a really cool effect. Now let me show you, just to end this, I'm going to grab the gradient tool here. We're going to grab the rainbow colored gradient, and I'm going to grab the circular option. Now, or radial gradient is what they call it. So under the mode though, I want to try a different blend mode. Let's try a screen blend mode. So if we click and drag this out, notice we can start to blend these together and create some really cool and interesting effects. Now we can get different effects by doing different types of blend modes. This is an overlay blend mode now. Multiply. And now we get a completely different, more of a dark effect. Okay, so let's go down and try something like a difference blend mode. Now, as you see here, we can get some really interesting effects. Look at this. Look how cool this is. We're creating this really amazing shape. Just this nice pattern. Just by using the different blend modes. So I can hide those two layers on the top. You can see what we're able to do. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this, just kind of touching on gradients a little bit that give you a better understanding. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, become part of the Cafe crew, and you'll get a new Photoshop tutorial every single week. So thanks guys, hit that like button, tell your friends, and add a comment. And until next time, I'll see you at the cafe.